Quartz is a very picky stone. That's the first thing you need to understand. It seeks out an individual. It seeks out literally one usually only one individual that it will agree to work with. A lot of times it doesn't even want to be removed from the forest at all. Some stones, are a lot more lenient, and so even if you make a mistake and you just randomly select one and you don't know how to sense the energy of it, you don't know how to tell whether or not that harmony exists there, a lot of them, they may not truthfully rebel against you, but they won't do you any favors either. For example, certain stones, whatever you're trying to get accomplished, whatever magic you were trying to do, simply won't work. But there won't be an actual consequence. Well, with quartz, there is a consequence. Usually it's an extremely annoying consequence. Usually has a lot to do with bad luck, sometimes sickness or physical pain. They rebel a lot when it's not the one that they're seeking. And the one that they seek could be the land itself. It could be an individual being. It could even be another stone. Sometimes, a lot of times actually, you see quartz that has binded to another stone. It literally bound itself to another stone or several other stones. It's something that, that sensing it correctly, it takes time, but basically, we all sense it differently. A lot of times you can sense, once you've mastered the skill, you can just look at it and don't even have to touch it, and you can just kind of sense the energy. But in the beginning, I always say, if you're not sure, then pick it up and see what it does when you pick it up. When I pick it up, if it doesn't want to be messed with, actually my entire hand starts to ache. That's just the way that I perceive energy. When someone else picks it up, they may feel, the hairs on their back raise up on end, or they may feel just in general uneasy. They may just have a goosebumps or jittery feeling. Whatever it is, some people see auras. It's all different ways that people perceive it. And that really depends on your own gifts. If you're really tactile like I am, you might actually feel the answer. It really just depends. When you're first learning like that and you can't clearly hear the answer, that's a good tactic to actually, pick it up and hold it. But once you learn this and master this skill, you should just be able to notice just by looking at it, even if it's not physically there, just a picture, just a photograph of it, as to whether or not it's the one that's calling you. That's another thing. Stones, just like anything else, you don't choose it, they call upon you, and then it's up to you to decide whether or not you agree to it, not the other way around. You can't seek something, and just say, I like this because it's pretty, or I like this because of the energy it has, let me take it and use it. It doesn't work that way. That energy is not freely given unless there's a harmony there. And so you have to find one that's willing to harmonize with you. Otherwise, especially with quartz, it's just going to make it 10 times more complicated, 10 times worse on you than had you just left it alone in the forest or wherever it was. Quartz really is a very individual, unique, it really does, it brings forth our own insight within ourselves, because they literally seeks one individual of like kin, usually of like kin. And so they are seeking someone or something else, usually of similar energy. And most stones, would be all right with 20, 30, 1,000 even different beings, on the earth at a said given time. Quartz is one, only one. So in all the billions of people that are out there, assuming it is a human, sometimes it's not even a human, sometimes it's the land itself, like I said, or another stone or something that it binds to. But, you know, it's even just when you're only looking at people, assuming that the individual it is seeking out is a person, is a human being. Think about that. You've got billions of people in the world, and it's only seeking one. That is a very picky stone. And if it doesn't get its way, it rears its head in a very ugly way. It's very annoying. You know, like I said, it can be as simple as bad luck, or it can be as serious as actual physical sickness, physical pain. You never know. It's better just to leave it alone if you're not sure. Sometimes you get fuck-ass lucky. There's this one person I knew that got really fuck-ass lucky, literally. I mean, but that rarely happens, okay? She didn't know enough. She was barely getting her feet wet in something, and I think she was heavily, heavily guided by her spirit guides, by totems, by something. Because she walks in a store, picks one up at random in a giant buckets of them. Picks one up at random, saying, I'm looking for rose quartz. Let me get some rose quartz. It just happened to be, literally just happened to be her power stone. That'd be like 1 out of 1,000,000. And it just happened to be the one that was pulling to her. So I believe that for that to happen, actually couldn't just be pure luck. For that to happen, she had to have been heavily guided, unknowingly so, but heavily guided nonetheless. Okay. You know, so quartz, depending on the color and depending on whether or not it's bound to something else, depending on the transparency, meaning whether it is solid or whether you can see through it, whether it's clear and you see through it, all of those really dictate its meaning and everything else like that. So when you start adding all these different attributes to it, that is when it starts to kind of change its meaning. It's always, no matter what, it's always going to be a stone that, you know, provides insight and clarity to oneself and individuality and uniqueness. Okay, it's always going to be a stone kind of that sort of self-discovery. You know, it's really, I would say, if you had to put it in one word, it would be insight. You know, but like I said, if you bring in clear quartz, for example, that has a lot of, you know, visionary stuff revolving around it, whereas a solid, you know, wouldn't. True black quartz versus smoky quartz are night and day different usually, because smoky quartz has got those red, orangey, brown hues, brownish, reddish, orangish hues in it, which is a lot of sun and day energy. And the true black quartz might have some grey, but otherwise is black, and that's the night moon energy. Grey quartz, you know, would also be, especially if it's darker grey, usually would be more so that cool, you know, northern type moon energy. Okay. Some blue quartz could be water energy, and some could be actually moon energy, and you don't know necessarily by the hue. Sometimes you have to sense just sense the raw energy to find out, because the hue could literally be the same hue and you wouldn't, you know. So amethyst is technically a type of quartz, and that you know, is very it's got a lot of universe star energy in it. You know, I mean, there's so many. When you add all the different kinds of quartz that could possibly be, I mean, it's just green amethyst ends up turning into more so growth and rejuvenation. I mean, and it's still amethyst, it's just a different color. It's just the amount of that it can change, because quartz is kind of all about this, almost like a snowflake. No one thing is the same. Every individual stone is different. It's like you have categories, right? Like rose quartz, clear quartz, milky quartz, amethyst, and then you've got, within each category, you've got the individual stone that differs, individual energy. It's just, I mean, it would be impossible, really, to make it fit perfectly in a box, you know, because it's so widespread. And that's probably why so many people like quartz, because depending on the stone, you can get all these different energies out of it, and you can play off that. Within the same, technically, it's the same type of stone, but you know, you'll never see two alike. Then two will never be completely 100% alike in that energy, or, you know, really anything else. So it really is, expresses that kind of individuality, can even help you discover your roots, who you really are at your core, you know, and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'd be sitting here forever if you wanted me to explain every single type of quartz. I couldn't, because there's so many different meanings it could be. So really what I've already said is about as general as it gets, and beyond that, almost anything goes. You just kind of have to, you know, look up which individual thing means what. And I will say that a lot of things out there on the internet are false about it. So if you see something that you look up, a specific type of quartz or something that you look up, and you're going, that doesn't make any sense, trust your gut on it, because a lot of these things are false interpretations. They're not the truth of something. You know, I'll never say something unless I'm sure of it. But unfortunately, a lot of these other places that you find information, you know, may not even have pure intent, may have ill intent, you know, that they're trying to say what they think it means, and they really have no idea. So have some common sense. If something doesn't feel right, usually there's a sign for that. But I will say that starstuffs.com is it's not perfect, but when you're talking about stones, it's a pretty good, really totems too as well, pretty good in terms of accuracy. I'd say it's 75-ish% accurate. So you've got a really good chance if you're looking for something specific. Starstuffs.com probably has it. It's a really vast website, so it probably has whatever you're looking for, and they'll tell you the meaning. I just wouldn't necessarily go word for word from what anybody says, not even me. I would say your own experiences and your own observations means more than just one thing by itself. So, you know, test it out, test the theory out, see if it pairs up, and if it doesn't pair up, then that probably means that you've been given some kind of false information about it. And I won't say that about, you know, every video I do, but I feel like since quartz is so vast, it's so vast, something that vast can easily start to get misinterpreted. So yeah, so that's quartz. We'll do another one, I think, pretty soon. I don't know which stone it's going to be though. I kind of just do these whenever I have time.